a shocking story that has emerged from one of the largest Christian television networks in the world, Daystar Television Network. This story centers around Rachel Lamb, a prominent figure within the network, and the serious allegations that have come to light about her behavior and the environment at Daystar. An anonymous letter was sent to Lauren, a former employee of Daystar, detailing her experiences while working closely with Rachel Lamb. This letter paints a picture of a toxic environment rife with manipulation and substance abuse, even alleging Rachel Lamb a drug addict. Let's break down what this whistleblower had to say. The whistleblower worked at Daystar in 2017 and reported directly to Rachel Lamb. They described Rachel as heavily medicated on prescription drugs, struggling to focus on her tasks. This individual often had to cover extra shifts due to Rachel's erratic behavior. According to the letter, Rachel created an atmosphere of fear among employees. Those who didn't align with her demands quickly became targets of her wrath. The whistleblower noted particularly harsh treatment towards her brother Jonathan, suggesting a long-standing sibling rivalry exacerbated by their father's favoritism. The work culture at Daystar was described as toxic. Employees reportedly engaged in substance use during work hours, creating an environment where productivity was overshadowed by personal issues. The whistleblower recounted instances where staff members would avoid Rachel out of fear, closing doors or pretending to be busy whenever she approached. This raises significant questions about the leadership at Daystar and how it impacts its employees. If those at the top are struggling with substance abuse and manipulation, how can they effectively lead a ministry that claims to uphold Christian values?
One of the things that's been happening since I have been broadcasting on this is dozens and dozens of letters from whistleblowers, people from the inside on Daystar, and they have something to say. And the people of God are speaking, not the established kingdoms of this world, not the leaders, not the pastors, not the mega churches, not the mega ministries. The people of God are speaking. So an anonymous source from Daystar, I worked at Daystar Television Network in 2017, closely interacting with Rachel Lamb, Joanie Lamb, Marcus Lamb, and Joshua Wood. During my time there, I directly reported to Rachel Lamb, and I had the opportunity to observe their personalities and the inner workings of the network. Rachel Lamb at that time was heavily medicated on prescription pills. I often had to work overtime to cover for her as she struggled to stay focused or complete tasks due to her state. She was demanding, cruel, and manipulative, creating an environment of fear. Her behavior was harsh towards others, and if someone didn't fall in line, they quickly became her enemy. She seemed to have a particular animosity towards Jonathan, her brother, from the moment I met her, and likely even longer. She made it clear that she saw herself as the favorite child and made sure her siblings knew it. I witnessed the marketing and film departments react to her with fear. People would literally avoid her, closing doors or pretending to be busy if they heard her voice in the hallway. I saw how Rachel pushed herself to work relentlessly to prove to her father that she was the next in line to lead the network.
Rachel's behavior can be seen as stemming from a deep-seated need for validation from her father, Marcus Lamb. This desperation for attention not only influenced her actions, but also fueled a rivalry with her brother Jonathan, who was also vying for leadership within the network. Witnesses describe how Rachel often sought her father's approval, pushing herself relentlessly to prove she was worthy of leading Daystar. This drive created tension between her and Jonathan, who felt equally entitled to their father's legacy. Daystar employee describes two specific incidents involving Rachel Lamb that highlight the toxic environment within the organization. Let's break them down. The first instance dates back to 2017 when the whistleblower worked closely with Rachel. They allege Rachel was often heavily medicated on prescription drugs, which impaired her focus and left others to cover for her responsibilities. The atmosphere around her was described as intimidating, with employees going out of their way to avoid confrontation.
Despite her clear substance use and manipulative behavior, I personally experienced Rachel's cruelty when I requested not to fly back with the film crew on the private jet due to a pre-approved shoot in Colorado. She threatened my job over this request, and I was left to fly back on the jet with her, Joshua, Rose Howard, Rachel's close friend and senior producer for Joanie's show, and the rest of the crew. Afterward, I had to rush to catch a commercial flight to fulfill my next assignment, and this was one of many instances where Rachel's temper and controlling attitude created a hostile and uncomfortable work environment.
The whistleblower recounted a situation where Rachel, in an attempt to impress her and establish dominance, bragged openly about her personal life, including details about her sexual history. This account suggests an unsettling level of unprofessionalism within the Daystar workplace. According to the whistleblower, Rachel would use these conversations as a way to garner attention or assert influence, creating an uncomfortable and inappropriate environment for those around her.
On another occasion, Rachel went to great lengths to impress me, even offering to show me houses in an attempt to make herself appear cool or relatable. Despite my recent arrival from LA, she bragged about her past drug use and even made inappropriate remarks about her sexual history. I found her persona fake and off-putting, and it made me uncomfortable to witness her boasting about such personal matters.
Such behavior raises significant concerns about the work culture at Daystar. For a ministry that publicly advocates Christian values, these private actions seem to stand in stark contrast to the ideals they promote. Employees reportedly felt trapped, forced to navigate an atmosphere where boundaries were blurred, and personal oversharing became a tactic for manipulation. Adding to the unsettling claims about the workplace culture at Daystar, the whistleblower revealed another alarming issue. They alleged that a significant number of Daystar employees regularly consumed marijuana during work hours, often showing up to their duties visibly under the influence. This widespread behavior created a chaotic and unprofessional environment, one that directly contradicted the network's public image as a ministry grounded in faith and family values.
The overall work culture was toxic. Most of the staff in the film and marketing departments regularly smoked weed and drank during lunch breaks. I was one of the few women in my department and often hung out with the guys and crew, which allowed me to observe this behavior. Joanie Lamb had a drug test conducted after rumors began circulating about the network's inner workings. Many employees, fearing for their jobs, shaved their bodies to avoid leaving traces of drug use. I once called into Joanie's office where she tried to intimidate me. During that conversation, she revealed details about her daughter's personal lives, including their drug use, which felt deeply inappropriate and uncomfortable. As for Joanie herself, she was a master manipulator, using intimidation to control the people around her. She attempted to throw her daughters under the bus in an effort to assert control. On one occasion, after I had styled Marcus Lamb for a headshot shoot, Joanie seemed threatened and told me in detail about her daughter's issues. It was evident that she was trying to gain an upper hand, especially after Marcus's past infidelities.
The whistleblower described an extravagant lingerie party presented as a bridal shower for Rebecca Lamb that was allegedly funded through questionable means. According to the letter, this event, which should have cost around $200,000, utilized ministry funds and vendor services offered in exchange for exposure on Daystar's platform. These revelations not only spotlight Rachel Lamb, but also raise serious questions about the network's culture and leadership. Allegations of substance abuse, financial impropriety, and manipulation undermine the values Daystar claims to uphold.
I also witnessed a number of disturbing practices at Daystar, such as how the company used donations for personal gain and spent large amounts of money on production. However, they frequently returned purchased items such as decor from stores like Home Goods and Target, often requiring employees to purchase these items with their own money and reimbursing them later. This was just one example of the way Daystar seemed to prioritize appearances over ethical behavior. In addition, I worked on redesigning Rachel's brand new home and organized her family's photo shoots, which felt like a misuse of company resources. One particularly troubling event I was involved in was Rebecca Lamb's bridal shower, which Rachel insisted should remain hidden from the network. The event, which was actually a lingerie party, was later aired on Daystar after significant edits were made. The entire event should have cost upwards of $200,000, but instead it was underwritten by vendors offering their services for free in exchange for exposure, a tactic that seemed to be used frequently.
Among the many complex relationships within Daystar Television Network, one key figure during the tumultuous period was Rose Howard, a senior producer for Joanie Lamb's shows. Known as a close confidant and ally to Rachel Lamb, Rose played a significant role in the network's operations, often acting as a gatekeeper and fiercely loyal supporter of Rachel. Rose Howard worked closely with Rachel Lamb during her tenure at Daystar. Their relationship was described as one of mutual reliance, with Rose supporting Rachel's decisions, even at the cost of her own integrity. However, this unwavering loyalty came at a personal and professional cost. According to a whistleblower, Rose's dedication to Rachel often resulted in her turning a blind eye to unethical practices and manipulative behavior. Rose was instrumental in maintaining Rachel's influence within the network, often shielding her from criticism and facilitating her demands, even when they created friction among staff members. Despite her loyalty, Rose and Rachel's relationship ultimately fractured. Rose Howard is no longer associated with Daystar and now works at CBN, a significant shift that suggests a breaking point in their partnership. This departure appears to have been a turning point for Rose, as she seemingly chose to distance herself from Rachel's behavior and the environment at Daystar. Rose described Jonathan and Suzy as kind and quieter members of the Lamb family, often trying to stay out of the drama that surrounded Daystar's leadership. However, their attempts to maintain a low profile did not shield them from the pressures created by the toxic environment within the organization. According to Rose, Jonathan frequently found himself in difficult situations, particularly when trying to assert himself within the network. This was exacerbated by Rachel's constant push to be seen as the favored child, which created tension and competition among the siblings. Suzy, who often accompanied Jonathan, was similarly caught in the middle of these dynamics, striving to support her husband while navigating the same pressures.
In contrast, Jonathan and Suzy Lamb appeared to be more kind and quieter, often caught in the middle of the family's dysfunction. They were always under a great deal of pressure, and I felt that they were unfairly targeted. While I never got a sense that Joshua Wood was involved in any misconduct, I did notice that he had become more silent and absent from social media, which made me question what may have been happening behind the scenes. The person I would label as gatekeeper within the company is Rose Howard, who was a senior producer for Joanie's shows and worked closely with Rachel. She was completely loyal to Rachel, even at the cost of her own integrity. Rose and Rachel are no longer friends, and Rose now works at CBN, a change that seems to indicate she ultimately chose a side. In conclusion, my time at Daystar left me with deep concerns about the leadership, the manipulation, and the unethical practices that were rampant throughout the company. The Lamb family, particularly Rachel and Joanie, created an environment that was toxic and often cruel. Jonathan, Suzy, and Rebecca were caught in the middle of these dynamics, and I truly feel they were unfairly targeted. I walked away from my time there feeling disgusted by the culture and tactics that were used to control and intimidate those around them. I have attached a few photos from my time there. I do have more to pull if needed. Thank you for your patience in getting this to you. Happy holidays. And this was her report. I want to say, leading into this, that the problem that we have is that the picture painted on Daystar of this family is not at all the picture behind the scenes. I actually have pages and pages from people reporting in their observance of how the Lamb family behaved. And one of the things that has come to light is that the pattern of lying has been a pattern that goes back many, many years.
As we reflect on these revelations about Rachel Lamb and her role within Daystar Television Network, it becomes clear that there is much more than meets the eye. The stories shared by former employees highlight a pressing need for accountability within religious organizations. What do you think about these allegations? How should ministries ensure they are held accountable? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates on this developing story.